because I don't really have a whole lot of context on like I could look up Paul Tagliabue, but like I didn't really live through Paul Tagliabue, so it's kind of hard for me to be like I pretty much just know Goodell with baseball. Or not even really so much baseball, but like hockey. I don't know hockey commissioners. I don't know what the hell they did. Like I know Wayne Gretzky, Ovechkin, and Sidney Crosby, and that's like the extent of my hockey knowledge. So I'm like,
that's very funny.
I don't know if there's a, I'm like I don't know if there's a way for me to like. I'm probably messing up somebody like some all-time hockey great people. Like, how you don't know him? And it's like, I don't watch hockey, bro. Like I try.
You don't know Mario Lemieux? You don't know Gordie Howe?
See, like, and I really couldn't even name off. And this probably speaks to his greatness. Like Gretzky is just so far ahead of everybody else in that sport. Where it's like,
the funny thing
played it.
The funny thing about that, I think that if you talk to hockey people, they'd be like, he actually wasn't. I feel like that's how it go. I'm not saying that's how it would go. I feel like it would go that way. I feel like we'd be like, man, Wayne Gretzky's just so far in the head to go. And people be like, is he?
You think you saying Wayne Gretzky might be they Wilt?
I'm not saying he ain't Wilt,
but
but
numbers. You just look at the numbers like, damn, how this nigga not the best ever?
I do think like the arguments we have in these other sports where it's like because we don't pay attention to hockey as like a majority that we think they don't exist in hockey, and I'm sure they do.
See, and I don't get involved with soccer arguments, not just because I'm also not super knowledgeable. Y'all niggas will like really fight people for that shit. So I don't get involved with soccer arguments for that reason because y'all have like y'all different. Y'all fan bases literally go start burning down cities and shit because y'all lose a soccer game.
I don't think there's a more violent fan base than hockey fans and soccer fans. Real sports, by the way. So I don't think that there's a more violent fan base than those two groups of people.
And that's what it's funny because like for the other sports, it's like the Raiders have always kind of traditionally been that for the NFL of like, oh, don't fuck with like Raiders and probably Eagle fans have always kind of been like the poster child for like they not right in the head, like don't fuck with them. Who's like the worst? Like who's that equivalent for the NBA? Like who's like the fan base of like,
like you don't want to fuck with that fan base?
Yeah.
I mean, it probably was like Celtics fans in the 80s.
Yeah, but that's just racism.
I mean, spade is spade, ace is ace. Ball, spade is spade. But I would say I don't think that exists today. I think historically you look at Celtics fans, I think you look at a portion of Lakers fans, like real deal Lakers fans. The
like
Pistons
LA,
fans.
Hollywood.
Yeah, exactly.
Pistons fans, I see. I don't know if in 2025 that's true, but I think growing up that probably was more true. Like they was with the shits for their team. Because Detroit always feels like it's got to be any Detroit team that's good feels like the city. Like there's like high flying, flashy Detroit. Like all the great Detroit teams are like just tough as hell. Feel like they represent the city. She don't be mad if Detroit fans were there. Oh man, hey. It is another episode of the Group Chat podcast. I'm joined here by my brother standing in at 6'1", 205 pounds, super heavyweight, extreme. How we feeling today? Tony is in the building.
That's not how that works at all. But that is
anything over 2. That's all I was told.
That's what Muhammad Ali was fighting at, funny enough. And now like your average heavyweight is about 240.
You want to open that can of worms? Is Ali still? I don't watch enough boxing. Is Ali still? Is his GOAT status still untouchable?
They couldn't touch it if they tried.
Is he as secure as? So, and I know LeBron's amazing. I don't want to piss off LeBron fans, but Jordan to me has felt like growing up my entire life. It was, you just said who's the greatest basketball player ever. It was undisputed, right?
Right.
And LeBron's obviously had a great career, and that's changed the conversation. But Jordan just felt like it wasn't a convo. Like everybody else was fighting for second place, best case scenario. Is Ali in that status when it comes to boxing?
To me, he is, but it's like I don't. He's the greatest heavyweight. If you want to talk about
Okay.
fighters overall, that's when you get into a different conversation because the weight classes are just much different, the resumes and
Mhm.
things like that. Like boxing has a lot more you got to take into account when you talk about the GOAT overall of the sport. So in the way that Mike is like, in the way that Kareem's the greatest center, is the way
Mhm.
that Ali is the greatest heavyweight. Now
Okay, that's fair.
you'd have people to argue Shaq is better than Kareem. I would not. And you'd have people that would argue there were heavyweights better than Ali. But the thing about Ali is, and this is just all in the ring because obviously out of the ring he can't be touched. Um
Yeah.
he was the first three-time heavyweight champion. He was the biggest draw of his era and arguably ever really. Um he he fought the guys that were there to fight. He fought all the guys. He fought all the monsters that were there to fight in his era. He fought as an underdog, he won. He fought as a favorite, he won, and he avenged most of his losses. And you look at the guys that beat Muhammad Ali, he avenged most of those losses. The only ones didn't get a chance to avenge is when he was just too old, and
Mhm.
he wasn't able to fight at the level anymore. So he's for me when you just look at everything he did when it comes to just purely boxing, he's the greatest heavyweight of all time. I don't really think it's an argument to be made.
No, it's valid. And to not to get caught up on it, but like, because we're gonna be talking about another basketball player today. Shaq has one of those few. Like, and I think Shaq likes what his title is. Like, Shaq's the most dominant because again, you're not going to see another human be that big for a long time. Like, Wemby's obviously tall as shit, and that's different. But like, I don't think people understand. Like 7'1", 320 was just not supposed to move like young Shaq did. And so him being the most dominant is, I think, is kind of perfect. He's respected. We know he's an all-time great, and because it's so unique because of his body type, no one really like Kareem is better than him. But I also would say like him saying he's more dominant than Kareem, yeah, because he was just physically pushing niggas out the way and dunking on everybody.
He was
Um,
he was that big and but yet that graceful.
yes, that's the to our wide receiver conversation from like a few weeks ago. Like other people are gonna be close to him in terms of height, weight, but you just don't move like that. And so young Shaq was a Shaq the person I could take. It's he's whatever. Niggas is lucky Shaq was not like a mentally sick, I want to be the greatest ever kind of person.
Yeah, basketball was all he cared about. It'd been slow for a lot of people.
Yeah. Like he would have man, look, it would have been he could be fucking up a lot of these conversations. Um before we get into our main topic of the week, who you been listening to this week?
My rap of the week, didn't get a chance to do it last week, but my rap of the week this week is Boldy James. Just dropped a new mixtape a few weeks ago with Nicholas Craven, his eighth mixtape of the year. Um, so yeah, Boldy James is my rap of the week. Go check out Boldy James if you haven't. If you have, you know ball.
No, that's see, this is where and this is why I know I get stuck in my ways because I listen to I'm not as bad as Will. We're like Will's not here yet with us today, but I'm gonna just say Will is still listening to Wale's album, so I'm gonna just throw that on Will's name. Um, I'm not that bad, but I do like my rap of the week, and I think this is my first or second time using them. Uh, but it's also it's Nas, and it's also I think by the time new album just got announced December 2nd. By the time this year was done, Nas absolutely has an argument for the best rapper of 2025, which I'm over the. We used to early on in the show debate Nas versus Jay, and they both great. They 1 and 2 on my list. Nas to be this active in his 50s is just fucking cool. Like nothing else other than that. It is just fucking cool. The level of rapping he still has, um, like it's just fucking cool, man. Like to be 50 something and to be definitively better. I know we've had the talk before about like old heads who just rap better than a lot of the kids. Like Nas at 52, rapping for 30 plus years, or 50, 51, 52, something like that, rapping for 30 plus years is better than a lot of people who are like quote unquote at their peak or in their prime rapping today. So Shout out to Nas. Um, and excited for the album on December 2nd, man. Keep doing it. The
12th,
NFL.
December 12th. The premiere and Nas album comes out.
Oh, is it the 12th?
Yeah, December 12th, 12/12.
Okay, my bad. I said December 2nd. My bad. But yeah, so that's gonna be dope. And again, like I said, it's not here to start conversations or do whatever. It's just again, it's just cool that he's 50 something and still loves doing this. When he's got plenty of money, he could just say, "Fuck y'all, I don't want to don't talk to me no more."
This album's 20 plus years in the making, so it's about time.
That's hey man, they still waiting on it's the amount different episode albums we still waiting on. Um,
I'll tell you right now, if you rumored an album past over the last 5 to 10 years, I'm not waiting on it. I promise you, you can keep it. You can keep any of the music, any of the whatever from it. I have no desire.
I don't want to shit on him, but like that shit is true because when um when Carter 5 finally came out and Wayne was
Nah.
like, we just like his answer was like, I asked everybody, you still cool? And they was like, yeah. And he was like, we just made timeless music. And I'm like, my nigga, no, you didn't. Like, I love you. It was dope. Like the Carter 5 was a nice moment because Wayne was finally done with the legal bullshit. And that was I could appreciate that. This
Carter
Wayne
5 is
is just
fine. It's fine.
it is, but it ain't like no timeless music or like y'all could have reworked some
Nah.
shit. Y'all could
Nah.
have done this a little differently, man. Um, but yeah, moving on. So, and this is why I appreciate Tony. The NFL is by far and away maybe the biggest attention grabber on the planet, right? Well, as far as the US is concerned, I don't speak for other countries. Y'all have real sports. For the US, the NFL is the biggest thing on TV. Like it gets millions and millions. There were people, I don't know who y'all are, but there was millions of people watching Saints Falcons this last weekend. I don't know who any of y'all are, but I just saw the numbers and it's crazy.
Sick.
And Tony is it is. I'm like, I didn't watch this. I on Monday I was like, look, and I tried to hit every game a little bit. I just was like, yo, man, I don't watch a second of Saints Falcons. I don't know what the fuck happened. I know the Falcons tweeted some shit about Derek Queen, and that was the most relevant it was to my life. Um, you have been on this, and I think it's justified. This kick of the NFL obviously is super popular. No one's debating that, but that the product has gotten worse. And so I want to do total clear out. We're talking basketball, ISO, top of the key. I'm going to give you your moment. Why is the NFL so ass right now?
It's ass because they've continued to sell it as just this phenomenal game and everybody continues to buy it. And I'm no different. Like I always say, I watch the league every Thursday. Saturday when they have those games, I'll be watching Bears, Eagles Friday when that game comes on and I watch it on Sundays and Mondays. But the difference is I'm not fooling myself into thinking that what I'm watching is good. I'm watching it because it's there. It's
Yeah.
this is these games have not been good. This product has not been good. You've gotten great individual performances for sure. We talked about Matthew Stafford on Monday. We've obviously talked about Jonathan Taylor throughout the year. We talked about Drake May throughout the year. But you know, the injuries have I don't want to say ruined this season, but they've definitely taken a big chunk out of this season. You look at just not having that dominant team that obviously will hurt the sport. And I'm not saying parity is a bad thing, but at this point, December 1st is Monday. We still don't really have an idea of who the clear Super Bowl favorite is. I don't really think you can operate in sports that way at all in any league, let alone football. Where you've had 20 years of the Patriots, you've had almost 10 years of the Chiefs. Like I don't think you can really operate that way, not having like a dominant team at this point of the year. It's fine for September and October, but when you get into November, December, you kind of want to have an idea. And I get that for a lot of people, that's the Rams. I'm not disputing that, but the Rams, they don't. I don't get that from them because they are very their margins are thin. The Rams have thin margins. If Matthew Stafford takes too tough of a hit, there goes everything, you know? If Puka has to miss some time, there goes everything. If Devontae has to miss an extended period of time, there goes everything. The defense has played really well. Obviously, Jared Verse is built on his rookie year. Shout out to Emmanuel Forbes for getting his career back on track. He's hooping, but
Mm-hmm.
they don't feel like the Chiefs of these past few years. They don't feel like the Eagles of last year. They don't feel inevitable. You know what I mean? The Eagles last year, they felt inevitable. The Chiefs for years have felt inevitable. Like the Rams don't feel that way to me. And there's not a team right now that feels that way. Um and
That's fair.
and we talk about coaching. Like I talked about coaching a lot over the last few months. Like there's just bad coaching week in and week out. Like there's just bad schemes, there's bad game plans, there's a arrogance in coaching where it's like you're you're thinking too much and trying to make this game much harder than it is. Like I just look at these games every week and I'm just like, man, you can have some great football for sure. I think tomorrow's slate of games, the Thanksgiving slate is really good. Like I think that Packers Lions rematch could be really good, but it could be a fucking dud. Like it could be a dud where one team gets blown out. I could see Detroit rolling the Packers in Detroit. I could see the Packers going in there and repeating what they did week one. Like none of those things would surprise me. I could see Chiefs Cowboys being a dud. Like I could see the Chiefs going into Dallas and rolling the Cowboys because they can take advantage of the defense. And I can see it on the flip side, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens just having a day on that Chiefs defense. Like, and clearly the Ravens and Bengals could be a stinker, given the Ravens struggles to score lately and Joe Burrow's first game back. Like no T Higgins. So like I can see that game being a stinker too. So it's like as good as the slate may seem, all of those games could stink. And I think that when you have that with the NFL, it's just too often that we get these games where we're like, these could be some of the best games that we've seen. And then they just turn into being bad football for 60 minutes. Like or in the NFL's case, 55, because they make most of the money off the last five. If you give a shitty football game for 55 minutes, but the last five is, you know, as exhilarating, they'll take that and make the narrative that the NFL is just this great show. And it's like, no, it's not. You kind of just luck into these games because of bad coaching. Like
Hey man,
you get into these spaces of close football games and big endings because the coaching is bad. And these coaches put their teams in situations where they can lose a game that should have been won 40 minutes ago.
do that's why I agree with a lot of that, and I do think there is so randomness in sports, and it always happens, and it mainly happens for like the reasons that it's perfect for a show like this. It's not really meant for hard foul radio. These are adults, and adults don't always make the best decisions. So sometimes when you have these random ass for games, or it feels like, oh man, he doesn't seem like himself, it's because he's an adult and he has a life, and he may have been doing something in his life that does not exactly help him on the court, football field, whatever, right? And no one really is allowed to say that, but like CD and George Pickens got benched for a series, and the story was, oh, they was out gambling, and I'm like, yeah, I believe that. You had a 24 and a 26 multimillionaire, and they were just out, at the casino a little too late. Yeah, that's all they were doing. I bet. And they still went out and balled. So shout out to them. You can handle your liquor, whatever you want to do. Cool. You're an adult. You're allowed to do that. But when you get too unpredictable, like it's one thing like to have like a good upset a week, right? It's like, oh shit, did you see that game? Like that's fun. When you no longer have like the predictability of there is such a thing as take dynastic dominance away, like the Colts forever, right? With Peyton Manning. They had horrible playoff record, but like you knew season in and out, it was like, hey, you got to deal with the Colts. Like Peyton, Reggie Wayne, the other number 88, they had good defensive ends. Like that was a really good team, and you knew that season in and season out. Right now, you don't even know, even if you're one of the teams that have like a good record. I'll speak from my experience, and I'm having a blast because my team's winning. But like, it's 9-2, and I'm telling anyone who asks me, don't watch Sunday Night Football because I know Should Denver win this game? 1,000%. Is there a chance this game could be 7-6 heading into the fourth quarter? 1,000%. And it's like, that is a bad product. And even a team that's 9-2, it's like, you don't know what the hell they're going to do. Like, I agree. I don't want to agree with Chiefs fans or former Chief players, but Mitchell Schwartz used to play for the Chiefs. He tweets about once a weekend, and he's like, so what do the Broncos practice on offense? And I'd be looking at it going, yeah, I wonder too. Like, y'all got time. I watched the press conferences. Y'all tell me you out there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all this shit. And I'm like, do you think, to be kind of old man to your response though, do you think we have a lack of, especially at quarterback? Because I do feel like we hit kind of like a really golden era of quarterbacks growing up. We know who the big three are right now, or big. I'm not trying to start this right, but let's say the big four, right? So let's take out Allen, Burrow, Lamar, and Patrick. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to match them, because I think you said a few weeks ago, I don't know if it was on here or just in text message, you like they are just as good, if not even better than Brady, Breeze, Manning. I don't remember if we included Rodgers in that or not, right? So take out the top four for the top four. I still feel like the next tier of quarterbacks for us growing up were better than the next tier now, right? It's like the Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Kurt. We got the end of Kurt Warner. We got even Carson Palmer, who I think is criminally underrated as far as how his history looks at him. Like, I feel like our middle tier quarterback was better than the current middle tier quarterback, who it's like, if Jordan Love, for example, is middle tier quarterback, he go out there and score 40 points, and he can also go do the shit that he did against Cleveland and Carolina. And I'm like, bro, you got to be better than that. Like Phillip Rivers, you was like, all right, we getting 20 plus points today. He's not Peyton or Brady, but like we getting 20 plus points. Do you feel like we are just dealing with less good quarterbacks?
That's a great question. I don't think so.
Excluding the top four guys.
I don't think so personally. Because you talk about a Roethlisberger, you talk about a Rivers, those caliber of guys, and I say to that, these guys are comparable. Like let's say let's take Matthew Stafford out because he was there then and he's here now, so it's very funny.
He's
But let's take Matthew Stafford out. Like Dak Prescott and Ben Roethlisberger are the same quarterback. Not the way they play, but their ability, their capabilities from a statistic standpoint and a winning standpoint. Say what you want about Dak Prescott, he's won a lot of football games. He hasn't been able to, win the Super Bowl in the way Roethlisberger has, but he also hasn't. I would say he also hasn't failed with the level of talent Roethlisberger's had as well. Ben Roethlisberger didn't do anything with Le'Veon Bell, who was pound for pound the best running back in the league. He didn't do anything with Antonio Brown, who was pound for pound the best wide receiver in the league, and with other great receiving options. They went to the Super Bowl with a really young receiving core of Emmanuel Sanders and Mike Wallace and Antonio Brown, and they lost that game. And when you look at a guy like a Phillip Rivers, we talk about Jared Goff a lot, and I think you're looking at two guys that aren't the most mobile. They operate mainly from the pocket, and really talented situations. You look at Jared Goff; he went to the Super Bowl before. He's gone to multiple NFC Championship games. If we go to like especially if we go into that era's bottom tier, this era's bottom tier is just so much better. I think that I would consider, where do we want to go? Let's say I don't think Baker's a top half guy personally. I just don't. Like he started off great, the injuries piled up. I would say Baker's between 15 to 20 than he is 10 and up, you know. And I think Baker's better than the guy that was a 15 to 20 quarterback in 2009. Um I think that Brock Purdy's better than the quarterback that was in the 15 to 25 range than a guy in 2009 was.
I guess so Andrew Luck's weird, and I know if because he was Andrew Luck's one of the like he just retired so early, and I don't even know where I'd place. Like I probably had Luck in the top 10 while he was actively playing. I don't know.
Hmm.
It's weird to go back and look at career retrospective. Like I guess who would be for the baseline, and then move on to the NBA. Like the baseline mid-level quarterback. Um, who would be Matt Hasselbeck in this era? Like just a good quarterback, not super special, but you know you're going to win games. You know you're going to be competitive.
It's golf. Golf is a lot of guys from that era just because of his style of play and his results. Like Jared Goff's also won a lot of football games. Like we mentioned, he went to the Super Bowl, um, went to the NFC Championship game 2 years ago. Um, so yeah, like he's this era's a lot of that era's guy because he's not the most mobile. He doesn't have the biggest arm. His athletic traits are pretty average, but he knows how to run an offense. He makes the right play and he wins the game.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
I
That's fair.
trust Jared Goff in the shootout. I
Oh yeah.
wouldn't go into a game where I got to match touchdowns with the other team and I don't think I can get it done with Jared Goff. I trust Jared Goff in a shootout.
That's super fair. The I guess we'll close out with this. And this is why, and I've talked about them all a lot, and I will continue to. It's why I'm so big on last year's draft class. Not just because of like, oh, I want to be right about my take, because my ultimate take from 2024 is I thought it was dope as fuck 6 quarterbacks got drafted. Because if we got, and it was never going to go 6 for 6, I'm aware of that. But if you really did theoretically get 6 franchise quarterbacks out of that, not saying everybody's got to be all pro, not saying everyone's got to get you to the Super Bowl, but like just 6 quality starting NFL quarterbacks who make it to a second contract. That's good for the sport because they are, and you see it with the schedule, right? Like they don't want to bury the guys who are great. Like the Ravens, you probably noticed it. The Ravens get a lot more late games now. They don't bury them in that 1 o'clock window nearly as much because they want
I
Lamar
wish
to
they
be on
did.
TV. That's like Mahomes doesn't get like the Chiefs have had, for context, have had one regular 1 o'clock start time, and that was the Raiders. Now it was a 31-0 game. And now they're like, all right, we don't trust the Raiders. Yeah, we're gonna bury this shit. But otherwise, like Mahomes gets prime time, Lamar gets prime time, Josh Allen, all these guys. And so if you got, and I still think what's been nice about that draft class, where Penix, unfortunately, at this point, I'm out on just because of injuries. I do think your third ACL in 4 years is probably a sign life is trying to tell you something. No disrespect to the player. That's just a lot of injuries, and that injury specifically. Um, and JJ, it's probably unfair because he hasn't had a ton of starts. He also hasn't helped himself very much. Like, if you're the reason Justin Jefferson's about to have career lows across the board, it's kind of tough. Um, but the other guys, like when Will comes on Wednesdays, is like one of the coolest stats are the, forget how you feel about the players. Drake May, Caleb Williams, and Bo Nix are 24-1 between the three of them. Their last that's 25 starts. Like that is good for the league. 3 quarterbacks that were just drafted last year are winning football games. Jaden obviously has been injured this year, but last year you saw the immediate impact he had for Washington. You want more draft classes like that. And I know we haven't started talking about the draft yet, but like Fernando Mendoza, I know Ty's gotten a lot of love, which is hilarious considering from where like the season started to now. Like if you get another 3 or 4 quarterbacks drafted, like you need these guys to hit because Stafford's obviously 37. He's old. Um, Goff is funny enough. He's on the other side of 30 now. He's one of the old guys. And you think they'll play forever, but now Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar, like they're getting closer to 30. It's like we need more guys to come in. So thankfully, Drake May's in the MVP conversation. That's a great young quarterback. Again, Jaden just got you an NFC Championship last game. Chicago and Denver, like they got young quarterbacks winning games. Like the NFL needs more of this because these guys aren't infinite. And sometimes they start reverting too. Some guys in San Francisco who, people maybe smart or not to draft somebody else because you don't want to pay him $50 million to throw multiple picks. But neither here nor there. I'm not here to shit on Brock Purdy. Uh,
I'm not going. I'm
I
not
just,
going to do this again.
I just,
I'm not here to defend Brock Purdy, but like he's clearly injured. Like he clearly shouldn't be out there. Wait, 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 wait. Connection is crazy right now.
oh, do.
Let's slow it down. All right, we're good. We're good. We're good.
All right. So for the retirement announcement that everybody thought was already announced,
It was very
um,
funny that he did that. It's very funny that he did that.
he just started. No, it's and I love Chris. I'm going to defend Chris.
I guess he wants to do it formally, but anyway.
He won to it formally. He also had like 6 straight DNP coach decisions. And so, like, the response to that was like, well, the Clippers fucking suck anyway. They're like, get me in the game. I don't got a lot of time left. And so, him going, all right, I'm retiring. And now he's getting minutes. It's only a few, but like, he's getting in the game. So, uh, Chris Paul officially announces he is retiring at the end of the season. This is year 21 for him, I think, which is nobody will, and I'm not saying Chris is the level of these guys, but it's one of the things LeBron definitely takes the air out of, and not in a disserviceable way. LeBron's been so great for so long that, like, I also don't think people understand, like, Steph being this great this late in his career, like, you ain't gonna see this shit again. KD being this great into his career, you ain't gonna see this shit again. Chris just playing this long and was an extremely relevant player as late as 22, 23, like when he was with the end of his son's tenure. Like, you don't see 6 foot guards, and that's it for giving Chris a full 6 foot, because that's also debatable. You just don't see that. And so this is one of the greatest point guards ever. This is one of my favorite players ever. This is a guy who he is better than his resume, and his resume is incredible. Like, I just think that if you looked at Chris Paul's resume and said, okay, like, if how great is he versus what you could put on a piece of paper, I say he's even greater. Um, I'll let you start here. When you think of Chris Paul, what do you think of?
That's tough, man. I think of a few different things. I think of Chris Paul. I think of a winner. I think of a leader. But you also think of a cop. Uh, think of think of the police. I think of a whiner, like just a crybaby of a player. Um,
Damn.
but but also like a true point guard, like a true floor general, like runs a team. Um, and that
Is
just
he going to be
doesn't
the
really.
last one?
They were talking about this. Zach Lowe and Bill Simmons. They were talking about this, and only guy that like really does that still today in the way that we knew it as is Darius Garland. Like outside of Darius Garland, it doesn't really exist in that way anymore. And I think that Chris is like, the last cowboy in that way of playing point guard in the traditional sense. So, a lot of different things think about when you think about Chris Paul, but you never forget the great things he did, and you'll never forget the things that just really annoyed you about Chris Paul. The low blows, the fucking the he doesn't have his jersey tucked in, like that type of shit. But it's like for all of those Chris Paul
He's
moments,
just competitive.
you can't forget the Lakers series in 2011 when he gave them all they could handle. You never forget the shot over Tim Duncan to win that Spurs series in 15. Um, you never
I'll
forget
never
his
forget when they
his.
should have won the Spurs series in '09. I'm still
I was about to say
devastated by that
you'll
shit.
never forget when he should have won MVP in '08. So it's just like it's it's he's had a career, that will end probably without a title, but I just think that it speaks to how tough the era was he played in, but also,
Oh yeah.
um, you know, he did come up short a few times in situations where he probably shouldn't have.
No, that's totally fair. And the thing that he doesn't get credit for, and this is how like when people talk about like smartest basketball players ever and guys who just know what to do, Chris is absolutely on that list. And you could say it's being a cop because he's doing some of the other bullshit that he had to do because he was also a 6-foot guard, which like there is a disadvantage to playing basketball at 6 feet tall. Like that's just the reality of it. This is why there's unanimously accepted two little guys, quote unquote, who led their teams to titles, and that's Steph and Isaiah Thomas, right? Like it is just hard as hell to play the game of basketball at this level at that size. He's also kind of responsible for the start of what's currently the NBA's best team. Like he was there when SGA first got to OKC. He was there. SGA himself was like, that's my guy. Like when I had to sit there and go learn how to be a player, that's who was on the team. And that's who, remember that? Because that year they wanted to give Chris MVP votes because he just got OKC to be relevant. Like did they make the playoffs? I forget. Was he?
No, they
before he got traded to Phoenix.
They made the playoffs.
Yeah. Okay. Like, and that was a Thunder team that everybody thought was going to be potentially the worst record in the sport. Like they're like nobody. It's obviously a vastly different fucking Thunder team than what they got now. Which is, I've never been a James Harden fan. James Harden, please save us because if they get another top 10 pick, I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
I mean, Paul George really started this dynasty for the Thunder, but that's neither here nor there.
Chris was actually there, like again, but in terms of like who he was, the ability to teach basketball, be a winner. He then went to the Suns. The Suns got to the finals, and that what I'm always torn on because that was probably his best chance to win one. And I'm not going to say he played well enough to win. He also ran into a 7-foot freak show who dropped 50 in game 7. And I'm like, am I going to kill you for losing to Giannis at his best game of his career? I won't personally kill you, but I understand if people say there was other things that series didn't do well enough. Like he is.
They were up 2-0.
They were up 2-0. Again, I get it. There is things that you could say, well, obviously, like he didn't play well enough. But I try not to, for my own sense, like if somebody has an all-time great series, this is what makes 2016 so complicated for me is like, yes, the Warriors choked. I also don't know if a human has ever played better basketball than LeBron did for that week. Like it was just like it's like
you know when human played better basketball than LeBron did that week when LeBron did it again 2 years ago.
And that's valid, but that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't want to necessarily like I enjoy celebrating like the all-time great performances more than I want to just focus on like the all-time failings, right? And so LeBron just being LeBron and Kyrie also because Kyrie had a 40-point game and hit the shot like. I want to credit them more so than I want to necessarily talk about the collapse. So Giannis had 15 game 7 going crazy that whole series. I'm like, I can't totally put that on Chris. Like, what was Chris Paul going to do with Giannis? Watch him go by and dunk the fucking ball again. And that's what he did. But again, obviously, like bringing New Orleans to its, I mean, probably statistically still its best season in franchise history. That Thunder season when no one thought they had a chance. The Suns getting them to the finals. The Rockets year, obviously, he's a part of, if Chris doesn't get hurt, what does the Warriors dynasty look like? Like, he has been, excuse me. Again, did he get over the hump? No, he didn't get a title. But that's also why I think he's better than his resume because I don't think anyone looks at Chris Paul and goes, oh, that's a losing player. Versus other guys who we look at, like Harden, for example, not to shit on Harden, but like, Harden is looked at more of a losing player because of his shortcomings than I feel someone like Chris Paul is.
Right.
And so, excuse me. And like, again, you play 20 plus years in the league, bro. Like that's not normal. And I know he's not really playing very much this year. I'm looking at it right now. Like they gave him 9 minutes against the Lakers. He's been playing this last week since the 17th, but he went like the Celtics didn't play, Mavs didn't play, Nuggets didn't play, Hawks didn't play. So, but he's a 40-year-old point guard. To the last of the true point conversation, I guess, is in your mind, what makes a true point? Because I've kind of showed this with Trae Young, because Trae Young
Hmm.
has the stats of a true point guard, and I'm like, why don't we view Trae Young as a point guard? And then I watch him play, and I'm like, okay, you don't look like it. Like you get 10 assists, yeah, but you don't look like you're running an offense, I guess, which is to me what I symbolize with true point guard. Like, what is a true point guard to you?
Side note, as I'm browsing ESPN, Daniil Hunter has 11 sacks and Will Anderson has 10 and a half. I don't really know what you're supposed to do with that.
And Benito
The
got nine,
Texans
and
are going to be a problem.
no, they're the only reason because they're better than Bonito and Allen, but not by a wide margin, but like they are better. And so that's why I'm thankful like Zach Allen plays in the middle because they don't have a D tackle who gets pressure like that. But this year in the NFL has proven like if you just put someone on the ground, like they can't do much. Like the Raiders aren't good. The Raiders looked terrible when they got sacked 10 times. And Mason Graham and Miles Garrett, like, what do you do with that? Side note, Miles Garrett has 13 sacks in his last 4 games. Brian Burns is second in the NFL with 13 sacks for the season.
Such a sport's not real. Um,
I just don't know what like you're supposed to do with Miles Garrett. Like kick that
um,
thing up to
to
another league.
to that about what I consider a true point. I would say that for me, a true point is not necessarily like, your 10 and a half, 11 assist guy or looks to pass more than score. I just think it's who runs the offense, and I mean that in like a real sense of like this, you dictate what the offense is going to be. We're running, we're playing fast tonight. We're going to slow the ball down tonight, you know, be more in the half court. We are playing the inside out game. We're getting the ball inside. We're playing the outside in game. We're hunting threes, and then we're going to open up the paint. Like, who is the coach on the court? Like that for me is a
Mm-hmm.
true point guard. That was Magic Johnson. That was Isaiah Thomas. Um, Obviously, I believe Steph's kind of redefined what that is because he dictates what the game is. He dictates what the offense is going
Yeah.
to be. Um, I think that for better or worse, because he has his flaws clearly, Westbrook was that for a long time. The game for those Thunder teams or many other teams he be on after that kind of went on how Russ dictated that to be until he kind of shifted to being more of a backup guard. Um, so I don't think there's a uniform definition of what a true point guard is in today's league, but that's kind of how I've always looked at it. And I do think that now you have more shooting guard, small forward points, more than you do traditional points. Obviously, you still have Tyrese, who's more of a traditional point. Still got Cade, who's more of a
Mm-hmm.
traditional point. We talked about Darius Garland, but those guys are few and far in between. Like Tyrese Maxey is the point guard for the 76ers. Tyrese Maxey isn't necessarily a point guard. Um, the Celtics don't have a point
Hooping
guard.
though.
No, for sure. Tyrese is balling. You got the Thunder giving Ant point guard or Dante DiVincenzo point guard. Like neither one of those guys are point guards. Shea is the
Mm-hmm.
point guard for the Thunder, but Shea is not really a point guard. Like these are these are where we're at in the game. So it's like the definitions are different, clearly. So just shows the evolution of the game for sure. But back to what we said, like Chris is just the last of a breed that doesn't really exist anymore.
No, it's 1,000%. And I am the apologies, Tyrese Halliburton. Halliburton is definitely there. Um, and Lonzo would have been too if he didn't have so many injuries early on in his career. Like Lonzo was, he could have done it. I think he's unfortunately injuries have derailed that, but Halliburton's definitely in that category. Two quick questions before we play levels with Chris: Is a is Chris a top 5 point guard ever?
This is what I want to talk about before we get to levels. That conversation because Zach Lowe brought up Oscar Robinson, and I forgot about the Big O because I have a lot of respect for Oscar Robertson. Like he's fringe top 10 for me, probably top 15 for sure. So I think Chris, I've been kind of going back and forth about that over the last few days. Chris has been a top five point guard for me. Top five point guards go Magic, Steph. Um, I'd go Isaiah, then I'd go Oscar Robertson, then I go Chris. Maybe Oscar Robertson, Isaiah, it depends. But right now I go Isaiah, Big O, then I go Chris Paul.
So I'm right there with you. I know the two that have been Steph is so interesting because there was a moment in time, again, like right now it sounds crazy, but like if you lived through both of their careers, like there was a moment where it's like, okay, as Steph was kind of redefining what like a point guard is, like there was a Chris Steph conversation. And Steph blew past him. I'm not here to really argue that point, but like that was a moment in time. When we played levels, it's great. I tried to go throughout his career of like who um the different people Chris has been compared to. And I think the two that are interesting is that are kind of fighting for that same similar type of spot is I've had a lot of people that say Steve Nash should be ahead of him because they
Hmm.
have similar games. Steve was a better
Hell
shooter.
no.
He's got the
Who
two
the fuck?
MVPs.
I love Steve Nash.
I
I have
just
Steve Nash higher than I think a lot of people do. Um, and I'm not one to like shit on his MVPs like a lot of people are. But I don't in no world can I pick Steve Nash over Chris Paul.
I agree. I'm just again I'm bringing up the guys who I feel like are now and because at a point in time now Chris ended up having some injuries too. One of like Chris's assist rate and pace early in his career, like he at one point was on John Stockton's pace. And if you know anything about John Stockton's numbers, like just disregard the human or like career in totality, like nobody will ever touch John Stockton's assist numbers. Like Chris even joked about it. He was like, bro, I don't know what the fuck they were tracking in Utah. He was like, you know how many assists John Stockton got? But Chris at one point was on that pace, which is fucking incredible. I think he is still um yeah, I think he's still the youngest guy ever to 5 and 10,000. Don't quote me. I know at one point he was. I don't know if that's changed. But the other guy who oh sorry, that's I guess three guys Taylor now they're bringing it up. Chris Paul or John Stockton.
Chris Paul, for sure.
How do we rate John Stockton? Like I don't think he's better than anyone that I think is in his tier or above his tier. But I
Hmm.
also am like, am I disregarding somebody who is the all-time leader in assist and steals and by like a wide margin? Like I don't think anyone's ever catching his numbers.
I think, to be fair to Stockton, I'll say these things. I think that Malone benefited from him more than he benefited from Malone. I think that if he wanted to, he could have scored more. Um,
Mm,
and just obviously being in Utah, he isn't going to get the pub. They went to the finals for sure. They were one of the best teams of the 90s, but like they lost the big games. You know, they lost the finals to Mike. Um, they didn't get over the hump in the way that kind of would have solidified him. He
mm,
finished his highest MVP finish was seventh. He made he was an All NBA guy, um, but more All NBA second teams and third teams than first. He was an all defensive second team guy, never really an all defensive first team guy. So he was always really good, but was he great? Was he ever really great? You know,
mm,
the numbers are staggering. I cannot take that away from him. He put up great numbers, but was he great? That's where it gets tough. And I think he is a top 10 point guard. I don't think we can take that away from him just because the evidence is there and everything like that. But there are guys just better. And then
mm,
all of this is different if what happened to Derrick Rose doesn't happen to Derrick Rose. All of this is different if things happen a little differently for, say, a John Wall. Like, and I don't and I'll keep it more to Rose than Wall because Wall kind of fell apart at the end. He did have his chances, but D
mm.
Rose didn't really get his chances because he it happened so early. Um,
Yeah.
I think this is a lot. I think these conversations are very different if that doesn't happen to D Rose, but
No, that's valid.
As it stands, I would say Stockton is top 10, but he's not top 5, and he's not better than Chris Paul.
Yeah, I think what separates, and I got one more person for you. I think what separates the top 5 list for me is Stockton. I don't feel like was ever the best point guard in the league, which I definitively think Chris was. Obviously, definitively think Oscar Robertson was. Definitively Magic, Isaiah, and Steph. Like, and that does matter. Like, if your peak is best at your position in the sport at one point in time, that means more to me than just like consistently being around there. The other guy who I love and I hate to diminish, and I don't want to diminish, but in just comparison, is Russ. I feel like Russ has been in a lot of these combos.
The Russ thing is tough because I've always gone back and forth with like Russ being a point guard, but like he is, he clearly is, but it's just like how he played, obviously. But Chris Paul is better than Russ, but it's a matter of that's always a conversation of just who you like more, and more people like Russell Westbrook than Chris Paul. There is a section of people that like Chris Paul more for sure, but Chris Paul he was better than Russ. Like he was a better, best player than Russ was. Russ as the best player of a team, he won MVP. Some will argue he deserved that or not. I'm not here to do that. I think the MVP was deserved. First guy to ever triple double. I think since Oscar or whatever, but yeah, I think the MVP was deserved. But Russ has not made it out of the first round of the playoffs since he did it with Denver last year. And obviously he wasn't, one of the best players on that team. Like that was his first time out of the first round since they went to the final, since they went to the conference finals against Golden State in 2016. That was Russ's first time out of the
That's
first round
insane.
since then. So like Chris Paul, those feats were higher for Chris Paul as the best player of a team. So that's just it is what it is there.
That's crazy. I didn't even think about that. Like, damn. And I guess since you got him in your top 5 best point guards, is I guess also top 5 little guys, which is one of those kind of abstract conversations. Because there's no real like Steph is 6'3", but Steph's not like Steph 6'3" and D Wade 6'3", 6'4" feels different. Like I don't consider D Wade a little guy, even though he's only an inch taller than Steph. Even
and
that again could be debatable.
Suspected, yeah.
Yeah, like is Chris a top 5 small guy in the history of the sport?
For sure. Even when you think about like undersized guys, like let's look at it and say Isaiah, undersized guy. Isaiah's there. Like we'll put Steph there. We'll put Allen Iverson there. Chuck was an undersized big. Chuck is there. And then I think you would have to put Chris Paul. Not maybe if that ranking in order is different, however you want to put it. But I think those are the 5 guys.
That's not super valid. Draymond might put himself in that top 5 though. I don't know if you put
he can.
Draymond might want some. Draymond might want some of that. Oh man, talk about a guy. We talked about it a little bit with like the Clay and Ja. Well, I did yesterday with like the Clay and Ja shit, and I'm just like, I think Clay and Draymond both talk wild, especially because I just. And maybe this is unfair because they're great at what they do, and they were great at what they do.
I'm much more willing to listen to it from Clay than I am Draymond.
No, 1,000,000%. But I'm like, y'all both realize how different your lives are if 30 don't exist, right? Like, just
I'm not putting that on Clay. I'm not putting that on Clay. Clay wrote checks that he could cash.
He did.
Draymond's been writing checks that Steph and Clay have had to cash.
That's valid, but I think Clay doesn't talk near the way he does. Because without Steph, Clay is a maybe one-time champion, depending on how his career turns out. Like they are a dynasty and winning multiple titles. And so Clay talks like, oh, I am one of like, and he is. And so it sounds weird. Like Clay talks a lot more cash money shit because he's a 4-time champ. Yes, he's one of the greatest shooters ever, one of the 2 or 3 greatest shooters ever.
But Clay is a 4-time champ in large part because of Clay. He's not a 4. He didn't ride Steph Curry's coattails. Draymond Green, and this is with as much respect as I can give him for what he did for that team. Draymond Green is riding the bus, as Chuck likes to say, and he has been riding the bus. And I'm not saying he didn't put tires on the bus. I'm not saying he ain't put great seats inside the bus. I'm not saying none of that. But he's riding that motherfucker. He's not driving it.
No, it's 1,000%. And he's such a hard, So, but anyway, it was yeah, they both are a little wild in my opinion. But yeah, Draymond is definitely
At no point
just
at no
insane.
point in that did Clay just ride it. Clay at least said, "Hey, I take the wheel for a few miles here." Draymond ain't never take the wheel for a few miles.
Nah, he averaged that one season. He averaged like 12 points a game. And I know Draymond's impactful. Like that's what Will and I were talking about. Is like if you watched it, like you knew Draymond meant a lot. It's really tough if you hand someone his resume and it's like, hey, take away the titles. Like what this nigga do? And it's like, not much. Oh man. So going over here again to levels. Now Chris again has heavy hitters. And he should. He's one of the greatest point guards ever. And I tried to do this the same way I did with who was it last week that I tried to who was last week? Wale. Oh yeah. So like I had J. Cole on level 3 for Wale. Because I wanted to do it as a way to be respectful to how highly I thought of Wale. So some people might think these are crazy. I don't know. But again, these are dealing with heavy hitters. So, but level 1, I don't know if this is petty or not, but I only thought it was fitting. Level 1, Chris Paul, Darren Williams. Because this was the conversation.
Which was, in hindsight, it's very unnecessary of a conversation. It's Chris Paul. And it's like, as great as Darren Williams was, Chris Paul was always better than Darren Williams. I think that Darren Williams having the better team success always put him kind of in that convo because those Utah teams were really good and they were more talented than those Hornets teams Chris had. But like, as cold as Darren Williams was, he wasn't Chris, and he had more to work with than Chris did also, and he didn't do more than Chris in a playoff sense or in a title sense.
No, this has been one of those conversations. And again, I don't want to diminish D. Will. D. Will was genuinely great in Utah. And he'll even tell you now, like his knees went out probably like halfway through his career to the point of he's one of those former athletes where he's like, I dead ass can't jump anymore. Like his body just failed him. But yeah, but this was a real convo of who was the best point guard. Chris eventually separated himself. Also, side note, and I know they only do this in baseball technically, where like you going with the cap. Who is Chris retired as? Like, what's the team?
I've thought about this. I've always thought Chris Paul as a Hornet, even through all the Clipper years and everything else. I've always thought of Chris Paul as a Hornet.
I wouldn't be mad if he was a Clipper. Like I understand the argument because he did basically play there just as long and he got LA to relevancy, which was a big deal because the Clippers were a just historically dysfunctional franchise. Still maybe are. But like to me, it has to be one of those two teams. I know he went to the finals with the Suns, but I agree. It's Chris Paul's New Orleans. Level 2 is Steve Nash. Again, at this point of his career, Steve Nash is a 2-time MVP. He is a true point guard. He definitively is a better shooter than Chris. So yeah, Steve Nash at level 2.
Chris over Steve Nash, Steve Nash is I probably have Steve Nash as the 6th best point guard of all time. So he's right there, but fair. I'd have him over Nash though.
No, that's super fair. Level 3, if I remember correctly, level 3 might already be out the way. Oh no, level 3, I remember who it is. Russell Westbrook. Now, this I wasn't sure how people were going to react to Russ for Steve, because I think that I'm probably more in line with you, where I think if I had to write a ranking, I would probably put Steve over Russ, but I think the consensus, Russ would pull better than Steve Nash.
It just comes down to what do you like the conversation of like Kyrie's greatness? It's like Kyrie's greatness is always dependent upon someone else's greatness. Like Kyrie is the best player, never went to the playoffs. Um,
Mhm.
and you can say he was the best player in Boston, but there's just so much talent there, and they did better without him. So it's like that was his one chance as the best player, and it's like they did better without him. So when you look at Russ, like I mentioned earlier, like Russ is the best player versus Steve Nash is the best player. It's just different. And you cannot really have the conversation of like talent played with because Russ is the
Oh
best
yeah.
player. He had Paul George and Carmelo Anthony and didn't make it out the first round. Or he had Bradley
Durant and
Bill.
Harden.
He had Bradley Bill, prime Bradley Bill, and they couldn't make it out of the play-in. So it's like it's that's just tough. Steve Nash with his talent, he was conference finals guy, second round guy to the eventual champs. I mean, we all know that Spurs what happened in that Spurs series,
I
so
would
we
say
ain't even
Steve's
gotta
got a tough.
we ain't even gotta talk about
Steve had to go
that.
through Duncan and Kobe. Like Steve had it rough. I feel
and 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 I'm
and a
talking
great
about
Dallas team.
the hip check from Ori, which led to the suspension and all of that stuff. So, like Steve Nash can make his case for some robberies as well. So, I it's in that case, I've got to put Steve Nash over us.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Level four. I think the strong one with the old timer. No, I went Isaiah. I would have sworn I had Oscar Robertson in four, but Isaiah Thomas level four.
No, this is where it stops for me. I think Isaiah Thomas is just for as great as he is, and as much as people know his greatness, it's still kind of underrated. For like Isaiah Thomas was just incredible for a long time, and like that not only led to titles and success, but he was going toe to toe with the guys. So it's like when you think about the
Mhm.
goats and the guys that define an era, like he was beating those people.
He's still, I think, the only guy to have a winning record against both Mike and Larry.
It's very funny.
I know, like he Isaiah Thomas, and this is unfortunate, and it's just the reality of the situation because again, like you said with Chris, how you remember him, it's like you remember some of the cap shit, and it's like no matter how great you are, like I'm gonna remember certain things. When you beef with the most popular basketball player to ever exist, fair or unfairly, like they're just gonna rank you a little bit lower. I'm not because I could sit there and put the two things aside. Like you don't gotta fuck with Mike. I don't give a fuck. Like I don't know Michael Jordan. So it doesn't really change my opinion. But because of that, I don't think Isaiah Thomas really got his fair ranking. And I do think he's better than Chris until maybe these last couple of years where it was like when you get past the enigma that is Michael Jordan, and you kind of just start to realize like this nigga just chain smoking and drinking and gambling all night. Like he ain't like he's great, but like his opinion isn't law. Um, and level
don't
five.
don't let niggas tell you that because it is a minute.
hey,
It
hey,
is a
look,
minute.
man. And level five is Steph, who I didn't want to put Magic at five because I don't even think that's like a conversation. Again, I every now and again, and this is probably prisoner of the moment. I'll sometimes be like, Steph maybe is better than Magic. But then I did my top five the other day in the text message. I'm like, every time I watch, I just see Steph do some of these games, and I'm like, in that moment, it's like, oh yeah, who's better than this nigga? But I do that with Jokic too, where I'm like, I'll watch an
Yeah,
incredible Jokic game and go, oh yeah, ain't nobody better than him. And then I just gotta go
everyone
watch.
after every Jokic
Yeah,
game.
yeah. But then it's like, then I go and I'm like, all right, if I watch 2013 LeBron, I'm like, okay, he better than him. Maybe not by much, but like he better than him. Or you go watch like Mike, and so I get caught in these moments of Steph. But if you just go watch a Magic Johnson highlight reel and you just throw in also the context of his career, which again, like I don't think people understand how consistently Magic Johnson was in the fucking finals. I know LeBron went to 10 straight.
I
I
don't think
don't
people
think people
understand how much
realize
Magic Johnson won. Like he
it's
Magic
insane.
Johnson won at a rate that doesn't really make sense. Like Mike lost. Mike had
Yeah.
losing seasons. Like Mike went through losses. Magic Johnson, he just did not lose. Like the Lakers, at worst may have been the 2 seed in the West, a 3 seed because of some injury, like, and they still parlayed that to the Western Conference Finals at worst. Like Magic Johnson just did not lose. Like he won so many games.
Yeah, and the only reason, like, I don't know
The
how
only
fair or not
reason
this
that
is.
stopped is for reasons.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. And you were going up against another all-time team. Like for Magic's credit, like if you were, how old would you have to be? Let's say you probably like 45, 50 years old, right? You would be a nigga who would say Magic's the greatest ever. One of your arguments would be, well, Michael never ran into a team as good as those Celtics teams. Because that's the reason Magic's resume is not even way the fuck more out of here. It's he had to deal with the Celtics team that, mind you, did something that you literally cannot do anymore because they drafted Larry Bird before he was eligible and just said, no, nigga, we own you. Like, you can't do that anymore. And so, if you didn't run into that team, like, that's sweet. Magic, and this is like, it's ironic because it happens with two different Lakers teams. For as much talk, and I love them, like as the Kobe Shaq hypothetical, how many could they have won if they didn't, if they didn't hate each other? If Magic didn't run into Bird and Parrish and McHale, like Magic might have 7 or 8. And it's more realistic than even the Kobe Shaq ones because he was in all of them.
Right.
Like he went to those finals. And the gap between the Celtics, because the gap between, and I don't want to discredit Isaiah with the Pistons, like he ran into another dynasty. And so, man, Magic was out of here as far as like a point guard conversation. So I didn't want to put Magic in level 5 because it's like I did my NBA power rankings and I was like, look, man, I separated 2 teams and I put the Clippers at the bottom. And that was just all I said was Harden, please don't give OKC a top 10 pick. And I put the Thunder on their own fucking tier because I'm like, I have my complaints, but I'm like, they're the best team in the league by a mile.
Right.
And my only thought process to them losing is if Jokic can have an all-time series, even for his own standards.
I don't think it's enough, gang.
I don't think it is either,
enough.
but it's the only because like look at it last year, they went 7, and again I don't want to diminish what Indiana did, but the Denver 7 felt different. Like the Thunder, you could just tell, like as great as they are defensively, like they didn't have an answer for Jokic. And the Pacers didn't have that. The Pacers were just kept shooting and running, and as you said, like we're the most annoying team ever last year.
I mean,
and that
other
helped them
than
prolong that series.
other than the best player tearing his Achilles, I mean,
That's I mean, yeah. But like if there is no answer for Jokic, no matter how great they are defensively, and if he has a series where he goes like 40, 14, and 14, which again is
by the time we get to the point where that's a possible matchup and that's the case, he may need to do that just to keep it close.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Especially
but that's how last year was.
If this hamstring problem is going to persist for Aaron Gordon, if Christian Brown's out for right now, we don't know. He'll be back, but it's tough to say how he'll look when he comes back. He's obviously going to have to get himself back into place. Jamal has been known to get hurt and miss time, and he's having the best start to his season of his career. So it's like, as great as they are, their margins are also pretty thin, and there's a buzzsaw on the other end of the bracket that they will probably run into if things go how we expect it to. Those two are on the collision course, and I just don't think that they can do anything with OKC. I don't like I said in the chat. I don't think the Nuggets can beat OKC in a 7-game series, but I don't think anybody else can beat the Nuggets in a 7-game series, and that's East and West. So it's one of those things where, like people say, this is the finals, and OKC is just so much better than the next team that's so great as well.
I'll ask this as we close out because I asked Will this, but I know normally we talk a lot of football when you come on Mondays. OKC is proof, and yes, I get annoyed with the foul shit, but like as far as having a serious conversation about them, are they proof that no matter like there is no quote unquote right way to build a team where like people will say, "Oh, this is cool." Like they have no traded for superstars. SGA is technically a trade, but he was traded so early in his career, it was not the same context as if they got him now, right? Like this isn't the
Mm-hmm.
Heat trading and get acquiring LeBron Bosch. Obviously, Wade was already there. This is the Warriors getting Durant. Like this is as homegrown a team as you could possibly have, which is the purest way to build a team.
Right.
And niggas still don't care. Like people are still going to complain. People are still going to be upset just because it's not their team. Is that fair to say?
What do you mean exactly?
So the complaint about the Heat when they were winning titles was, "Oh, that's not fair. You just got LeBron, Wade, and Bosh." The
Oh yeah,
Warriors,
yeah,
even though the Warriors were homegrown outside of Durant,
yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
it was like, "Oh, that's
And
just
they won
not
a
fair."
title
Like you
without him.
guys, yeah, and it's like, "Oh, well, that's not fair. You just won inside." There's like, there is no quote unquote like purest or correct way to build a team. It's like just build the team that wins, and however it works for you, like that shit just works.
I,
I don't know if that's something you in the question, but like just the
I,
thought of
no,
it, I
no, no.
guess.
I feel you. I think people respect it a little bit more, and I think also people respect it a little bit more because of Sam Presti's done it multiple times now. This time it's just gotten over the hump, and
Mm,
you couldn't have really when you made the trade, when you're OKC and you made the trade, you you put Paul George in LA, you got Shea back, and you got draft capital. Sometimes you kind of just fall into this because that 2019 day when we saw this was happening, none of us could have predicted how badly the whole Clippers thing could have gone. Even if we didn't think they'd win a title, I thought they maybe eventually would at least get to the finals, and they came close in 21 without Kawhi. Funny enough, but we couldn't have predicted just how badly this whole thing would go. Where we're now on multiple iterations of the Clippers, of the Kawhi Clippers. Paul George is long gone. Um, and they stink right now, putting OKC in a spot where they could probably have a top five pick and a loaded NBA draft. So I think it's just more respected because of what Sam Presti's been able to do for sure. Sam Presti,
if
who
we
who has a rap album out there for everybody that doesn't know that. Sam Presti has a jazz rap album that exists. Shout out to Pablo Torre for telling me that.
Hey, shout out to Pablo. Um, no, it's valid. Hey, Adam Silver, if there was ever a time to rig a lottery, my nigga, like because they have somebody else's pick
Can
too.
you rig
Like they
back
could
to
end up
back
with two.
lotteries? Can you do that?
Ab-
I
Absolutely.
think that
The
I
fuck?
think that's like quota violation.
Not just shit. I heard Bill. I never knew the cold envelope was a thing until I heard the Bill Simmons segment on it. So if David
Oh no,
Stern
I
can
knew
get
that
away
was
with
a thing
that,
since I was a kid. I just never understood. Like, it was just always
I
funny to me that like niggas niggas would have like done that. But I mean, they didn't have great inventive ways to cheat in the '80s, so I get it.
no, it's also valid. Like I was dead ass. I was like, what the fuck? Y'all just telling me like I knew it, but I knew how the process worked. But sometimes like, oh yeah, he just had a cold envelope to reach down there and grab it. And I'm like, y'all rig shit for the Knicks, and they still ain't win it. The like shout out to Patrick Ewing.
Couldn't have
Um,
foreseen Mike Jordan. No one could have seen it coming.
that's see, and that's the one that I'm curious. I obviously didn't live through it. Like I was 4 when Mike was done being Mike. And so I am kind of curious how the world in real time felt about the Bulls. Because that's to me the comparison to this Thunder team. Like all-time great defensive team. You've got your star guard. That's going to be a multiple time MVP by the time this is over. Clearly the best team in the league. Like I don't know in real time like if people hated the Bulls.
I
Like Mike
think
was so
you I think
overwhelmingly
they had more
popular.
love than they had hate, but I definitely think the Bulls had haters for sure. I think we don't live in a world where you can't hate something. I don't think it was just like 100% love, but I think the love overweighed the hate in a way that it didn't for in a way that it didn't for the Warriors, in a way that it didn't for Braun. I think the love for Mike and the Bulls outweighed the hate in a way that it didn't for the dynasties that come after it.
No, it's fair. And again, Mike is such a just Mike and Magic were, and I throw early a Lakers Shaq into this too. Like they were so distortingly like popular and super mega stars that it's like it's tough. It's like, oh, we hate this thing. It's like, well, y'all all wearing his shoes. Like, come on now. Like we got to draw the line here somewhere. Nah, man, it's this OKC is shout out to the Pistons. I hope the Pistons. Nobody's beating OKC, but I'm rooting for these teams that are making noise. I'm rooting for the Pistons. I'm rooting for the Raptors. My Pelicans won their third game of the season, and that's about all I got as far as basketball is concerned. Anybody want some league pass info that only watches the never mind. We about to head out, man. We got anything we want to close out the show on? Any news notes?
Nah, man. Y'all enjoy y'all Thanksgiving. Happy holidays from the Hard Foul team. Go watch some fake sports. Watch some real sports. If you like turkey, eat the turkey. If you like the pie, eat the pie. Pumpkin, sweet potato, whatever your culture is. But do not put any sweet potatoes on my plate.
Okay, so we're pretty much there. I'm glad because if I remember correctly, I forget if it's you or Will that tweets about him. You are a candy corn enthusiast, right?
I love candy corn, yes.
Amen. Okay. See, and I'm glad, like, you like me, you niggas like, hey, look, man, eat what you want to eat. Like, I don't gotta eat it. Like, if that's what you rock with, cool. All this Thanksgiving food shaming, shit is pointless. Y'all sound real dumb for doing it too. Like, just eat the fucking food you want to eat. Don't eat the food you don't want to eat. It's real simple. Not everything requires a think piece. Like, eat what you want, man. Turkey's a little overrated, but it's fine.
Hey man, no turkey slander. No turkey slander. We ain't here for that. We ain't here for that.
Like I said, eat what you want to eat. There, teach their own. And with that being said, though, appreciate everybody as always. Whether you watch YouTube, Twitch, you on Twitter, be back next week as well. Will should be back with us then as too. Don't forget to check out Hardfire Radio in the morning. No A&M because normally record on Thursdays, and that's literally Thanksgiving, and I didn't feel like telling my family or telling Matt's family, hey, can't hang out today. So no A&M this week, back next week. Appreciate y'all as always, though, and we'll see you then.
Cheers.